Hi, this is Sue Jackson of the Book by Book blog, and I am here today with a tag video, the Kindness book tag. This was originated by Kaitlin at Bandy's Books, and she tagged me. But back in November, I'm a little behind on several tag videos just because of holiday prep and all of the end of the year wrap ups and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, end of January, and I'm just now catching up. But as soon as I saw this video back in November at Bandy's Books, I knew I wanted to do it even before she tagged me at the end. It's all about kindness in books, on booktube, and in life. So that is right up my alley. Question one: how do you practice kindness in your day to day life? This is something that's very important to me. My children could tell you, they're grown now, 26 and 29, but they could tell you throughout their childhood that the number one thing I said to them over and over and over, so that they were sick of hearing it, was that the most important thing in life is to treat other people with kindness and respect. And we tried to bring them up with that as a core value. And it's worked. They are both wonderful, compassionate young men um, who are very kind. So this is very important to me. In my day to day life, well, first of all, I think it's really important to treat everyone you meet with kindness and respect. And that includes strangers. So if I am I spent a lot of time here in my house the last few months because of my chronic illness. But when I'm out in the world, I try to be friendly and kind to everyone. Store clerks, I think they deserve a lot of kindness because I think they put up with a lot of crap from people. and so I always try, to be kind. Also, I think chronic illness has made me a more compassionate person because it has taught me that pretty much everyone you meet in life has some kind of challenges beneath the surface, usually invisible to you. It may not be chronic illness, but whether they're dealing with illness in a loved one, or caring for elderly parents, or a divorce, or a problem with their child, everyone has challenges in their life. And once you know that, then you approach other people differently because you recognize, even if somebody's being grumpy or something, you know that behind the scenes they're probably dealing with some stuff. So I think in that way, chronic illness has made me a more empathetic person. Um, and chronic illness is another one of the realms in which I really try to practice kindness. I do spend a lot of my time trying to help other people with the same illness as me and similar illnesses. Um, I have been fortunate because of my education and scientific background, because I just lucked into finding a good doctor, because we were well enough off that my son and I could go see specialists in other cities. Um, I've been able to learn a lot, try a lot of treatments. So through my chronic illness blog, my YouTube channel, I try to pass a lot of that on to other people. Um, that is really an integral part of my writing career. Um, Even though that part there's no monetary pay for that, but it's certainly very rewarding when you're able to help someone. Um, and my whole family feels that way. I started a local support group, so my husband and my kids got involved, and yeah, we all feel that way. Sorry for all the babbling. This is a topic that's very important to me. Prompt two: what is the kindest thing that's happened to you on BookTube? Well, this was hard to narrow down, and I was trying to remember back to my early days on BookTube. 2020, I think I started. I'll have to look that up. If I'm wrong, I'll put it up here. Um, but my memory's not that good. I know generally of the people at the channels that I quickly became close to. But one kindness that stands out more recently was when Nikki at Red Dot Reads, who's taking a little break from her channel, last summer she asked me to do a buddy read. This was my first ever buddy read. I hadn't experienced that before here on BookTube. Nikki was participating in my Big Book Summer Challenge. Watch for that this May. And we were both planning to read The Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles. And so she asked me to buddy read it with her. I'd never done that before. She is in Singapore, and I am on the East Coast of the United States. So we're exactly 12 hours away from each other, which makes it almost impossible, especially given my limited stamina. It makes it almost impossible for us to actually talk to each other. But she showed me how to set up an account on Voxer so that we could leave voicemail messages for each other. And we did that throughout the month of August as we both read The Lincoln Highway. And it was such a wonderful experience. I loved the book anyway, but having someone to discuss it with just really deepened my enjoyment of the novel. Can you hear that? My husband's on the electronic keyboard and he's got earphones on, so we can't hear the music, but he's pounding away. Don't know if you can hear that. Sorry. Okay, so that I really appreciated Nikki reaching out, and we're planning to do another buddy read next month in February. Okay, 3, in your opinion, who, in your opinion, is one of the kindest booktubers out there? Well, I'd like to mention an old online friend of mine, Melinda at A Web of Stories. She and I have known each other in the blogging world for 15 years or so, roughly. I started my blog 18 years ago, and she started hers soon after that, I think. So, and then she moved to BookTube shortly after I did. So I've always known Melinda was a kind person, but what I've noticed since she's joined BookTube is that she is always making a point to shout out other channels. She does whole videos just filled with shout outs, and I think that's wonderful and so kind of her. Prompt 4, what is a book that's reminded you to be more kind? So, if you haven't read this before, then this may seem an odd choice to you. But as soon as I read this question, I knew my answer. And it is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Now, if you haven't read that before, you might think it's a business book, and it is. But what really just blew me away and opened my eyes when I read it back in the early 90s, I think, was how much he talks about treating other people with kindness and respect. That is one of his core tenets. And several of his 7 habits hinge on kindness. And that surprised me. So at that point, this was before I got sick. I had a flourishing career in quality management and environmental management systems. So another friend of mine who's in quality management had recommended the book to me. And he was just as enamored of it as I was. So some of the 7 habits are things like be kind to those not in your presence. And reading that chapter just really opened my mind to recognizing that so often we get pulled into conversations gossiping about other people. And we don't think of it as gossip, but it's judgmental and it's not kind. And if you're used to treating people that way and thinking that way about other people, then Covey's point is you won't be effective at meeting your own goals. Another of his basic tenets is seek first to understand, then to be understood. Very often, you're in a conversation with another person. You're both talking over each other, trying to be heard. And his point was, if you just stop and actively listen and make sure before you say a word about your point of view, you really understand the other person's point of view and show them that you understand what they're saying, then they will be primed to listen to you as well. I mean, it's simple stuff like that. But at the time, in my 20s, in the early 90s, this just blew my life wide open. Literally changed my life. So if you've never read it, I do recommend it. Can you think of a fiction book of any genre that focuses on themes of kindness? I thought of several. Um, the first one that came to mind is The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin, one of my all-time favorite books. I've read it twice, and both times I laughed out loud, I cried. It's a wonderful, wonderful, heartwarming book, and it is all about reaching out and forming a community and connecting with other people. Is very much kindness is at the center of it. Um, and thinking of that, I also thought of A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman, which is, now that I think about it, kind of similar to the storied life of A.J. Fikry. Like, like A.J. Fikry, Ove was a very grumpy, solitary person at the beginning of the story. And gradually, he warms up and gets to know the people around him, forms a found family and a community. And again, very heartwarming, also very, very funny. Definitely recommend both of those. And then one I've read more recently, my last book read in 2023, Rabbit Cake by Annie Hartnett, which also made it on my top 10 novels of 2023 list. This is also a novel with kindness at its heart. The narrator is a 12-year-old girl whose mother's just died. She is grieving. Her father and her older sister are sort of isolated in their own grief. And as much as the main character is grieving, she still is so kind and compassionate to her family, to other people around her, um, and caring for them even while she's hurting herself. So, and it's another book that both made me laugh out loud and cry. You're seeing a theme here. Prompt 6. How do you think you could make BookTube a kinder place, both individually and as a community? Well, I always try to leave positive, supportive comments on other people's channels. If I watch a video, I always comment because I appreciate it so much when others do the same. So I know it will be appreciated. I have to say, I wish I could get around to more videos. My time is pretty limited, in part because of my chronic illness and in part because I'm doing so many other things. Um, so I do wish that I could watch more videos, but when I do see a video, I make sure to really interact with it, with the person who made the video and comment. I also try to reach out to newer channels, shout out channels with fewer subscribers, visit and comment those on those channels. Prompt 7, say some kind words about one of your favorite booktube channels. Well, one of my early favorites, that's still a favorite, is Sandy at Miss Reads a Lot. I love her energy. She is always upbeat and positive in her videos. Um, I love her enthusiasm for books, as well as her honesty when a book doesn't work for her. I love her laugh. I love it when she laughs in a video. And I really enjoy not just her book videos, but her travel camping vlogs. Really enjoy those because those are things that I like to do as well. Prompt 8, share a new or small booktube channel. Again, I have more than one. I've got an attitude of abundance here. So I would like to shout out Grace at Books and Cooks. I have to admit, this is a channel I've only recently discovered, but I'm enjoying it very much. And Eleanor at Maya Kitten Reads. I always enjoy her channel as well. And prompt 9 is tag some friends to spread some kindness. However, I waited so long to do this that I'm sure many other people have already done it. So I will leave it open-ended. If you're watching this and you'd like to do it yourself, consider yourself tagged. What books have you read that you feel focus on a theme of kindness? I'd love more recommendations. Let me know in the comments down below. And please take a moment to like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel.